What is up, and welcome to this post-game live edition of Couz's Corner as we react in real time to West Virginia's 48-14 drubbing at the hands of the Utah Utes. I did not expect West Virginia to get drubbed again, at least not at home. I thought last year's drubbing was an anomaly because they were on the road in a bad situation, coming off an emotional win. And I thought, hey, they're coming back to Morgantown. They'll be ready to go. They're going to play better. I did think they'd lose the game because I just think Utah's a better team. But I thought they'd be competitive early and then Utah would pull away late. This game was not even close from the jump. West Virginia loses 48-14 to Utah. Absolute dominant performance by the Utes. Hats off to them. They were the better team. They were more talented. They were better coached. They executed better. They looked like the tougher team. They looked like the more physical team. They looked stronger and faster. They looked just better across the board. So hats off to them. Want to thank you all for jumping on here with me this evening after this game. Thanks to those of you watching on X and to those of you watching on the WV Sports Chat Facebook page. For those of you who are watching on those two platforms, I ask that you please come over to my channel on Couz's Corner on YouTube once the show's over and check out the content I put up over there, and also subscribe and be notified of future episodes. But anyway, thank you for joining the show. Also, shout out to Rogue Sports Network, part of the 365 Sports family. Anyway, just a rough show, man. I'm going to talk about a few positives, not many, but a few positives I took away from this game. But it was just rough. I mean, West Virginia was not even good, really in any phase of the game today. Special teams was not great. Defense was bad. Offense was bad. It was just bad all the way around. And the same problems that have been haunting this football team continue to haunt this football team. Now, to be fair, injuries were a factor here. West Virginia was obviously without Jaheim White, without Jaden Bray, without Ty Edwards, without Landon Livingston, their starting center. Jacob Barrick, I think, was out. He might have played today. I'm not sure. Sincere Bowers was out. So they were missing a lot of weapons. I get it. But there's not enough depth and without Nico Marchiol, gotta throw that one in there. There's not enough depth at those positions to make up for what you lose. Jalen Henderson got to start today. As you see on the bottom of the screen, for those who are watching, for your listening, I will read it to you. He was 3 of 7 passing for 23 yards, I think is what it says. Not good enough. No, not good enough. Did not even have a huge day on the ground. Ran for 28 yards on 13 carries, 2.2 yards per carry. Now, that does include sacks. To be fair, Khalil Wilkins was 3 of 7 passing for 63 yards, a touchdown, and had 9 carries for 39 yards, which is 4.3 yards per carry. The leading rusher on the day for the Mountaineers was Gerard Bowie, who had 1 carry on the reverse for 68 yards. Dior Hubbard carried it 9 times for 49 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. So he was your best running back on the day. But again, they just could not get nothing going. They were trying to utilize the quarterback run game more. Utah knew that. Utah was stacking the box, daring West Virginia to throw the football down the field, and they either could not do it or would not attempt to do it. My personal opinion is Rich Rod probably did not trust his blocking well enough, or maybe the receivers aren't getting open down the field again without being able to see the all 22. Sometimes it's hard to know the reason. But for whatever reason, they were not trying to throw the ball down the field early in the game. They were just trying to rely on quarterback run game, reverses, jet sweeps, and running the football and it just wasn't working. Utah saw it coming. Utah tackled well. They were able to get West Virginia on the ground. They did not fall for any of that stuff. They were prepared for it. And on the other side of the ball, West Virginia did not tackle at all today. Once again, they struggled to tackle like they have pretty much all year. Now, the defense up until today or at least up until the second half of last week, had played well enough to win. But now I will say for probably 6 quarters of football, they have not played well. But the tackling has been an issue from the get-go. They have really not tackled all that well most of this year. but it had been offset by their activity. They were making plays in other ways, forcing turnovers. They did get one turnover today, but when you tackle that poorly and the team's doing basically whatever they want to you have to force turnovers to overcome it, and they just were not able to do that today other than the one. And shout out to Nick Taylor, an unexpected good performance from him on the defensive side, who came up with that turnover, had a couple nice plays on the day on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I'm trying to read some comments here. I'll get some of those in a minute. But yeah, I mean, it's fair. You've got to, Jalen Henderson did not play well, in my opinion, not good enough to win. Did not move the offense as well as he should have. Khalil Wilkins came in the game, and the offense clearly looked better. WVU Fan 13, who's a VIP member here on the YouTube channel, chiming in, he says, "We haven't been throwing the ball downfield. Forget the Robert Morris game. The majority of our passing game has been wide out screens, nothing downfield." Agree. And I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if it's because Rich Rod is just not attempting it. But now they did throw it down the field later with Khalil a few times, and it worked. And there were a couple times. I mean, obviously he did complete the one touchdown to Cam Vaughn. He had another one that his receiver dropped that was a really good throw. I thought it was a back shoulder throw. He put it where his receiver could get it. Receiver didn't catch it. Then he did have the one throw where he was rolling to his left. He threw the ball. He did short arm it a little bit, and it kind of was low for the tight end, but he still could have caught the football. It was a catchable ball. Wasn't perfect. He could have been more accurate with it, but it was catchable. So he looked like he could throw the football down the field. Now, in all fairness, Utah probably wasn't bringing a ton of pressure. They probably weren't making things hard on him. You could say the game was already well in hand, but they still did have some of their better players in the game at that time. And the offense was still able to move. They made some changes on the offensive line in the second half. They brought in I think it was Josh Isosa. I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm trying to remember who the guard was they brought in the game. I cannot remember his name, but nonetheless, they brought in two subs on the offensive side of the ball on the line, and I'll be anxious to see the PFF grades come out, but it looked like they played better. They still didn't play great. They still look like they missed some blocks and got beat on some blocks, but they looked like they were playing better than the previous guys they had in the game. Now, obviously, I'm sure the coaching staff will evaluate the tape, see who played the best, and I'll be anxious again to see the PFF grades. But it looked to me like the younger guys they brought in, they were both underclassmen. I think one was a redshirt freshman and the other one might have been a sophomore or something. It looked to me like they played better just based on the eye test. They opened a few more running lanes, it appeared. Donovan Haslam was the other guy's name. It just came to me. Donovan Haslam and Josh Isosa. Oh, yeah, and thank you, Zach. I see now where you posted it there. But Donovan Haslam and Josh Isosa came in. I think it was Josh Isosa, or it may have been Agbo. Could have been Malik Agbo. I can't remember. I don't remember. Agba. Agba came in the game, or Agbo, whatever his name is. Agbo, and Haslam, it seemed to me, at least based on the eye test, played better than McConiole and Crawford. But again, be anxious to see the PFF grades and hear what Coach Rod has to say. He's not going to single guys out. He won't do that. But so, we won't hear him give that opinion. But yeah, just a rough day, man. 48-14. You could tell Rich Rod was very frustrated on the sidelines. Just could not find any answers. But to be fair, even though I'm still not jumping off the Rich Rod train. I think it's too early. It's year one. It's a rebuild year. I've made that clear. At the end of the day, the buck stops with him, and he has to figure out how to fix it. It might take till next year to do it, but he's got to figure out how to fix it. And if playing some of these younger guys is how you fix it, then play the younger guys, But it does look like they could have missed potentially on some of these portal guys, especially on the offensive line. Brandon Bailey, who's a VIP member, chimes in. He says, I'll feel bad for Rich, all the excitement and all the ticket sales, etc. But after I watched all his pressers during camp, I said from the beginning that he was not happy with this team, especially offense. Yeah, I agree. Now I think he was trying to be positive. He talked about how it was a deep quarterback room. He talked about a lot of things, how deep he was at multiple positions, and it turns out he's not very. Doesn't look like he's very deep at many positions, to be honest. But again, I think it was just coach speak. You know, he can't get up there on the microphone and say, "Man, we're going to be terrible. We're going to suck." He can't do that. No coach in America is going to do that. WVU fan 13 says, "That's my point. Nico didn't throw downfield much at all. Wilkins had no problem standing in the pocket and throwing downfield. He looked way more comfortable and confident at the QB over anyone else." Agree. I noticed the same thing, said the same thing in a group chat I'm in. He looked like he was confident. He looked like the moment wasn't too big for him. Looked like he was ready, just to be honest. Whether that's because he had better blocking in front of him, whether it was because he was more prepared, whether it was because he's just naturally a better quarterback, I don't know the reasons. Could be all the above. But Khalil Wilkins looked to me like the better football player today. So far, at least, in the very small sample size of one half of football, looked like the quarterback that should lead this football team going forward. That is one of the positive takeaways I have from here. I think you might have found your quarterback. I think I was high on Khalil Wilkins when West Virginia coach Neil Brown got his commitment. I thought he looked the part. He throws a very tight spiral. Looks to me like he can make all the throws. He's athletic. Now, obviously, we didn't know how he would react in game time when things are moving fast and everything's, flying around you. But it looked to me like he can handle it. It looked like he can handle it. He took some hard hits and was still able to bounce up, get up, and go play football. I liked it. I like what I saw from Khalil Wilkins today. Every throw wasn't perfect. Every play wasn't perfect. But he showed me that he can do it. He showed me that he can do it at least. It appears that way. Now, again, it's hard to judge it off of one half of football in a game that was already somewhat out of hand, out of reach. So maybe it's not a fair comparison. But right now, when you're Coach Rod and you're looking for answers and you're looking for anything that's a positive, any spark, any positive takeaways, anything you can build on, I think you've got to stick with Khalil Wilkins going into Friday in Provo. Now, that's going to be a different deal. Can he handle the crowd in Provo that's likely going to be sold out, 60,000 people, very loud, very, very into the game? It'll be a great atmosphere. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kick. Will he be able to handle that, being the starter? Because it's a whole different deal when you're the guy. Now, if Coach Rod wants to go with him, then he'll obviously get the reps. He'll probably get starter reps all week, which should help him. But nothing compares to being in the moment, in the game, in front of the crowd. Will Khalil Wilkins be able to handle that? I guess we'll see if Rich Rod thinks he can. Does he run him out there as a starter next week? Personally, at this point, you're 0-2 in Big 12 play. You've gotten absolutely embarrassed in both of your Big 12 games. I think, even though I'm not giving up on the season yet because you still want to try to make a bowl game, but I think at this point, I'm not going to say there's nothing to lose, but you have very little to lose at this point, right? So go run Khalil Wilkins out there Friday night. As long as you think he's ready to go, I'd throw him out there. I'm rolling with Donovan Haslam, and I'm rolling with Malik Ogbo. Now, look, I've said before, I don't think you tank the season. I think it's too early, and I'm still saying that. So I'm not saying you're tanking the season. But I think if your young guys are just as good or better than your old guys, you roll with the young guys, right? And you are, and not only, so you're trying to win now. And oh, by the way, it's also better for you down the road in the future because your young guys are getting snaps. You're helping them get better. You're helping them build confidence. So by the time 2026 rolls around, hopefully, A, they'll stay and won't transfer, and B, they'll be ready to go. And you'll have more chemistry next year rolling in to game one. That's why playing young guys, even though you're not now, if they're not ready, you don't play them. You play the older guys. But based on the 1/2 sample size I saw today, the young guys are just as good, if not better, than what you were rolling out there before. So roll with them. That's what I say. I say roll with them. So let me know what you guys think. Would you roll with Khalil Wilkins next week going into the hostile environment in Provo, Utah? I want to hear your thoughts on that. Got Gregory Krug in the house on the YouTube chat. We've got Dogs for Me. We've got Go Ears 206, STO. I see some new names here. I appreciate everybody jumping in. Steve Herzl, TJinx048, who's a channel member here, says that's the perfect way to find out if he has any Pat White in him, Couz. Pat was a dog in those sorts of situations. And that's a great point, TJinx048. Does he have the dog in him that Pat White had? And again, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Pat White, and I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's what you were saying either. But does he have anything like that in him? How do you know if you don't put him out there and see? And if he doesn't play well, then you obviously can put somebody else in. Gregory Krug says Provo probably will be sold out. It is a shame WVU cannot sell out a game unless it is Pitt, VT, or Sandusky U. Yeah, man, West Virginia fans, I think I read there were about a little over 53,000 today at the game. I know a lot that did go left early. But I'll be honest with you, had I went, I likely would have left early too. It was raining. The team was getting absolutely embarrassed. I got a 3.5-hour drive home. You know, listen, I could have went to the game today, to be honest, but there were a lot of things that would have made it somewhat of an inconvenience for me to go, so I decided not to. And boy, am I glad I didn't, because I would have been pissed had I made that 3.5-hour trip and the team play that bad. And it's always a risk. It's always a risk you take. But again, it is what it is at this point, right? Let's go ahead and look at some stats, y'all, for this game. We've got the game comparison here. These are your total yards. Utah, 532. This defense gave up 532 yards to Utah. Utah's was by far, you could tell they were more experienced. They were faster, stronger, bigger, more prepared, everything. Knew what they were doing, everything. It seemed like every call they made, West Virginia didn't have an answer for it. Is that coaching? Is it just guys being out of position? We don't know the answer. West Virginia, 346 yards of offense. Not good. Passing yards, 290 for Utah, 85 for West Virginia. 85 passing yards. That's embarrassing. It's flat embarrassing. Rushing yards, 242 for Utah, 261 for West Virginia. But I don't let that fool you. They run the ball a lot. Penalties, 5 for 46 for Utah, 6 for 70 West Virginia. And some of those were, you had a touchdown called back because of a penalty today, or what would have been a touchdown. Well, actually it was. You had Grayson Barnes false started on the touchdown catch he made that West Virginia badly needed at that time. At that time, the game was still somewhat within reach. He made just those pre-snap penalties that they have got to stop, man. Inexperience is no excuse for undisciplined play. I saw Brandon Phoenix from the Raspy Voice Kids put that on X earlier. I don't care how inexperienced you are. Pre-snap penalties are inexcusable. First downs, 30 for Utah, 13 for West Virginia. Terrible. Third downs, 8 of 13 for Utah. West Virginia continues to be one of the worst teams in the country getting off the field on third down at 4 of 14. They were 4 of 7 on fourth down. Utah was 3 of 3. Total plays. Utah ran 77 plays. West Virginia only 61 plays. And when you're Rich Rod and you like to run that fast-paced, high-tempo offense, you want to run 90 snaps a game, 61 is not going to do it, right? That right there shows you how the game went. The two things you can look at for a Rich Rod offense and tell whether they win or not typically, how many plays did they run and how many first downs did they get? He wants 25 first downs and wants to run, I think he said 90 plays. He ran 61 plays and only got 13 first downs. So terrible day. Average yards per play, 6.9 for Utah, 5.7 for West Virginia. Average yards per completion, West Virginia was 14.2, but heck, they only completed, how many completions did they have? Not many. Average yards per rush, 5.1 for Utah, 5.4 for West Virginia. Sacks adjusted rushing yards averaged 242 for Utah. West Virginia had no sacks today. What's that tell you? And then West Virginia had 270 rushing when you adjust for sacks. Red zone, Utah was 7 for 7 in the red zone. West Virginia only reached the red zone one time, and they did score when they reached it. Time of possession, 34-45 for Utah, 23-19 for the Mountaineers. Utah did have the one pick. West Virginia didn't turn it over. That is one bright spot, I guess. No turnovers. Utah put the ball on the ground twice, but didn't lose either one. Same West Virginia put the ball on the ground once, didn't lose it. Utah had one sack for 9 yards. West Virginia had 0 sacks. TFLs. Utah had 5 TFLs for a total of 19 yards. West Virginia had 5 TFLs for a total of 11 yards on defense. So, I'm sorry, had 5 TFLs against them, I guess would be the answer. So there's that. Let me look and see. Let's talk some individual stats here. I don't have those to share with you, but I'll just read through them. Jalen Henderson, 22 carries. 22 yards. Khalil Wilkins had 63 yards. This is passing the ball. Had a touchdown. A quarterback rating of 193.2, which is really good. Jalen Henderson's rating was 69.3. Only completed 43% of his passes. It's showing Khalil Wilkins was 3 of 6, not 3 of 7. I apologize. Dior Hubbard, 10 attempts, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. Average 6.1 yards per carry. Khalil Wilkins, 9 carries, 39 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. Jalen Henderson, 13 for 28, 2.2 yards per carry. As far as passing or receiving, rather, Cam Vaughn caught 3 balls for 62 yards and a touchdown. Was targeted 3 times, had 3 receptions. Rodney Gallagher, 2 catches on 3 targets for 19 yards. And then Gerard Bowie had 1 catch for 4 yards. 6 receptions for West Virginia Mountaineer football. 6. I'm going to repeat that. 6 pass receptions in an entire football game. It's not acceptable. Teams are just going to stack the box and dare you to throw the football. And until you prove you can, they're going to continue to do it. Now, that's why I think Khalil Wilkins showed us some stuff today. I think he showed us he's got the arm to do it. I think he showed us he's got the accuracy to do it. And he's definitely got the run game, the run threat to do it, to keep the defense off balance, to help open up that run game. Now, if you can get Ty Edwards back pass game rather. Now, if you can get Ty Edwards back next week, that gives you another threat to run the football with Khalil Wilkins in the backfield. I think that's what I go with. That's my opinion. You go with Khalil Wilkins at quarterback, Ty Edwards at running back. If he's not ready to go, then I guess you stick with Dior Hubbard. He hasn't shown me anything that he deserves to lose the spot. Now, let's go ahead and look at Utah stats here, because I do think Utah deserves to be talked about. They won the game, right? Even though this is a West Virginia channel. Devin Dampier was 21 of 26. Quarterback rating of 200.4. 237 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. Completion percentage of 81%. Their backup, Ficklin, 4 for 4, 53 yards and a touchdown. Parker, I think it's Wayshawn Parker, had 9 carries, 66 yards. Nakari Rogers, 13 carries, 61 yards, 4.7 yards a carry. Parker had 7.3 yards a carry. You cannot allow a running back to run for 7.3 yards a carry. As a team, they ran for 5.1 yards a carry. You've got to do better than that as a defense. Receiving, Ryan Davis, 7 catches, 107 yards, a touchdown, 7 completions on 7 targets. Who was covering the guy? 7 completions on 7 targets. Bentley, 5 completions on 5 targets. Very few incompletions here. Very few times guys didn't get hit when they were targeted. Too many times guys were running wide open in the secondary. We saw way too many missed tackles. Guys running up, not breaking down in proper tackling form. And look, these guys are better players than I am. So I'm not trying to sit here and but I don't know why I even have to preface that. You guys already know that. But I don't want to act like I'm, am better than them, but I can watch the game and tell you where I think they need to improve. And I'm sure obviously the coaches already know it. But I see guys I have never seen. I love the way this defense flies around and plays fast and aggressive at times. But sometimes they look like they're out of control and they're running up to tackle a guy. They run right by the guy, or they run up so fast that they run by him and then have to try to put on the brakes and stop, or they're not able to get down in their proper tackling position to break down and get. They've got to do a better job of staying under control. Play fast, play aggressive, but you've got to stay under control when you're coming up to tackle these guys. That's what at least just from me watching it as an observer, that's what I saw on defense. Too many times the guys are flying by the ball carrier, not able to make a tackle, or they try to arm tackle them as they run by because they're out of control. And if these guys are good athletes. Devin Dampier's a great athlete. If you try to run up on him out of control, he's just going to make you look silly, which he did several times. He's going to stop and juke you and go the other way. These guys have got to do a better job of tackling. It's getting, it's ridiculous at this point. But anyway, the team already knows it. You guys, I'm sure, already know it too. You see it with your own eyes. Remember, if you guys want to guide the conversation in any certain direction, drop a super chat, hit the $ in the chat box, leave your comment. It will highlight it for me, and I'll be sure to address it, answer a question, whatever. I do want to take a moment. I do have to do this, give a quick shout out to my sponsor here. So pause for this quick commercial break. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Plus over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Hey, do me a favor. Go check out my good friends over at Appalachia Digital. If you need a brand new website for your small business, or if you're just looking to get found easier on Google, go check out AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. These are the fine folks who designed my brand new website over at WVSportsChat.com. They did a fantastic job. I love their work. I think you will too. So go check them out. AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know Couz sent you. I also want to thank them for supporting my work here at Couz's Corner and at Hoops from the Hills. Now let's get back to the show. All right. Thanks for letting me get through the housekeeping and say thank you to our sponsors there. Let's go ahead and get to some comments. I don't really know what else I can really say, man. I mean, it was just bad. It was ugly. It was bad. It was embarrassing. I told somebody, I said, if I didn't have a show to do, I don't even know if I'd finish watching the game. It was that bad. Chris D says this is shaping up to be the worst season in the last 40 years, maybe more, he says later. Man, it definitely could end up being, that's for sure. WVU Fan 13 says NB was 34-32 in 6 years at WVU. He went to a bowl. You get mayo dumped on you if you win. Agreed. West Virginia We Are One says, got to start Wilkins. Take your lumps. Try and remain competitive and prepare for 2026. 4 wins max this season. And hey, I don't know how many of you saw the video I did. I guess it was last week. I changed my season prediction from 6 wins to 4 wins. And I'm now starting to wonder if you win 4. But I still think this team can get better. If they can find, if Wilkins continues, if he can, because he should get better technically, right? Or theoretically. So if he can get better, your offensive line gets better. Maybe the 2 guys you played today play next week. Maybe they start moving in the right direction. We'll see. And maybe if the offense can start doing a little better, the defense will all of a sudden feel more confident and start playing better too, man. Because up until today, we had not seen them play this bad. They just it was just a rough day all the way around. Matt Gandy says enough with the MB stuff. 5 games doesn't overrule 6 of the worst years in WVU football history. Yeah, and I'm not saying it does either. To compare 6 years to 5 games is ludicrous in my opinion. Go Ears 206 says Kelsey, Ohio lost by 3 to a P4 team and stayed within 6 points to Ohio State and Columbus until Navarro got hurt and just won today. You clearly don't know ball to think Ohio's a bad team. Jill Rowling, like it or not, we need Wren to work some money deals. That's no doubt about it. I saw a chat. There was a group chat I'm in, or maybe it was on X in public. I can't remember. Anyway, somebody was talking about West Virginia being listed on 3. According to on3.com, West Virginia's total NIL expense was like $1.9 million. Now, first off, I think it was probably more than that. Okay, because I think the quarterback position alone is making probably close to 7 figures. Not just one player, but the whole position. So I know surely the goodness the whole roster is not making, barely over $1 million. But the point is, West Virginia needs money. They need support from donors. And I know what some people are going to say. Well, when Rich Rod was hired, that was supposed to be one. I get that, but it's not an overnight thing. Like I've talked about before, Rich Rod was one of the last coaches hired in the cycle, right? A lot of the good players had already committed out of the portal to other teams. He will have a full cycle now to evaluate and recruit players from and he also didn't even have his full staff hired yet, right? And they got to help in the recruiting and the evaluation process. They didn't get a GM in until later on in the process. So the staff wasn't fully put together until later than most other staffs. So they had less options in the portal. This ain't the old days where you just walk up and hand a dude maybe they do in a McDonald's bag. I don't know. You've got to get money in. You've got to get it coming in consistently over time. You've got to build the account up, I'm assuming. It takes time to do that. We've got the Hope Coliseum deal. We see all these other sponsorship deals. There are other moves being made that they continue to work on. They've now gotten a commitment from the university, from the board. Let's give this stuff time to come to fruition so they can go out and get better players. I think if West Virginia can bring in better players, I trust Rich Rod will be able to win more games once he can get better players in here. Okay? That was one of the things Neil Brown was struggling with. He was able to get some good players, but not enough. Now, do I still think he underachieved with some of the players he had? I absolutely do, especially in the 2022 season. But that being said, West Virginia has really been struggling to get talent ever since the NIL and portal became a thing in college football. It's no different now. Now, if we're still having this conversation next year, and definitely the year after that, then it's time to have a different conversation potentially. But right now, let's give it time. We're 5 games in to a total, absolute, the largest rebuild in the history of college football probably. Outside of maybe Marshall having to redo it when they had the plane crash. But as far as modern era, FBS football, especially at the Power 4 level, this is the largest rebuild that I'm aware of in history. So I think we need to take that in consideration. And then you add all the injuries in on top of that, makes it even more challenging. T Jinx 048 with the super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, wasn't BYU 5-7 their first year in the Big 12 2 years ago? And now they're one of the teams that can win the conference. Let Rich Rod do his thing. They were 5-7. And I remember watching West Virginia absolutely destroy them in Morgantown. So, yes, let's give it time. And now 5-7 was respectable for year one, I think. To be honest with you, right now, the way this team's playing, I think I would take 5-7. Let's hope we can get to 5-7. But my point being is, yes, everybody that comes into the Big 12 struggles in year one. BYU did, Houston did, Cincinnati did, UCF did, even Utah did, Arizona did. The only exception was Utah State. I'm sorry, Arizona State. Year one in the Big 12, they won the league. But that's an anomaly. You know, in almost every other case, TCU wasn't, they were pretty good from the beginning. But the point is, you know, West Virginia struggled when they joined the league in 2012. And that was with Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, Stedman Bailey, those guys. That team went 7-5. Remember? 7-6 after you count the bowl loss. So entering the Big 12 is not easy. And Rich Rod is basically entering the Big 12 now because he's bringing in a whole new team. So you got to kind of look at it that way. And again, it's ugly. It's embarrassing. This could be one of the worst seasons in West Virginia history. I get all that. But we've got to – now, here's one area I will be worried. If West Virginia goes out and plays this bad against UCF, who also is bringing in over 60 players, that's not going to be a good look. And I might be a little bit more critical when that happens. But, and you know, Mike Ostie from WV Sports Now put something fair on Twitter earlier. He said that, you know, Rich Rod has said out of his own mouth, a 3-win season like he had the first time is not acceptable. His goal is to win now. He told all of his staff and players, we're trying to win now. So he's going to sit here and tell you that this ain't good enough, just like I am. So, no, it's not good enough. But you don't fire the coach after 5 games. I heard chants. You could hear chants on TV of a handful of fans going, fire Rich Rod. That's ludicrous, man. Give him time. He hasn't even had time to build his culture yet. It takes at least a year to get your culture built. Let him build his culture. Then let's have this conversation again this time next year or maybe even into next year. Let's see. If we don't see progress, all right? MB first season, 5-7. Worst losses, 38-7 Mizzou, 38-14 Iowa State, 52-14 Oklahoma, 38-17 Texas Tech. Yep. Chris D says, I'm just looking forward to next year in basketball. I'm just glad we beat Pitt. Yep, we beat Pitt. Listen, how would you like to be Pitt right now? They're wanting to fire Narduzzi. They got beat by Louisville today. They lost to one of the worst West Virginia teams we've had in a long time, beat them. How would you like to be them today? Think about that. Maybe that'll make you feel a little bit better. All right. We've got WVU Fan 13 says MB second season, 6-4. Worst losses, 42-6, Iowa State. Neil Brown got beat bad a lot in his tenure, folks. Remember the game at Texas Tech last year? Remember the second half against Kansas? It was either Iowa State or Kansas State. Both of those games were embarrassments at home at night under the lights. Junior Bailey, you're right. The portal has definitely screwed everything up, my man. But other teams have been able to figure it out. West Virginia and Rich Rod have got to figure out how to work the portal successfully for their program. You've got to find the right players to bring in that fit your culture, that fit your brand, that fits what you want to do defensively and offensively. And you've got to go get some dogs, man. And the donors have to step up. The school has to step up. We as a fan base have to step up. If we can afford to donate, donate. If we can buy tickets, buy tickets. I didn't go to the game today, but I paid for that ticket. You know what I mean? So I try to put my money where my mouth is. at least make an effort to. But I understand some people can't afford it, and that's fine. I'm not saying you should, break the bank or not pay a bill to buy football tickets. But my point is, if you are financially able to support West Virginia Mountaineers football, then I think you need to try your best to do it. If it means that much to you, and if it don't, that's fair too. There are more important things in life, and I get it. WVU Fan 13 continues with the Neil Brown record, third season, 6-7. Worst losses 24-3, Oklahoma State, and 45-20 to Baylor. Got Kelsey Whitlack in the house. We have OB Zen in the house. MB needed to go, says OB Zen. No doubt about that. But our hire, in my honest opinion, banks way too heavily on nostalgia. I think we needed a young, up-and-coming P4 OC or DC, a shot at head coach to build with. That's fair. You obviously have a right to that opinion. But I think when you look at the candidate pool, there were no other coaches more qualified than Rich Rodrigiez. He's won at the G6 level. He's won at the P4 level. He's rebuilt rosters. He did it at Jacksonville State. He was an experienced sitting head coach, which Rendell does like to hire. He knows the culture of West Virginia, what it takes to win at West Virginia. He came highly recommended by many around the country, including Nick Saban. And he's going to bring more donor support, which is critical. I don't think Ren Baker hired because of nostalgia. Ren Baker wasn't at West Virginia in 2007. I doubt he cares a whole lot about that, just to be honest. We care as fans about it. The donors care about it, yes. But I don't think Ren Baker cares about nostalgia. Just my honest opinion. But I do respect your opinion, OB Zen, to not want him as the coach. Kelsey Whitlack says you all were on a Brown gone, yet Brown never looked even close to this bad. Yes, he did, man. Did you not see the Texas Tech game at the end of last season? Did you not see some of the other games that he lost? I mean, WVU Fan 13 is putting them in the chat. 48-10 to Texas Tech in season 4. Shane V. Better players, worse players, same players, doesn't matter. The only reason WVU wins is when the team understands their importance to the state. RR does that better than anyone. Great comment, Shane. And I think that, again, back to the culture thing. Meanwhile, you glaze Rodriguez because once upon a time he had a run with Pat White. And that's fair, Kelsey. It's totally fair. Again, yes, I'm a Rich Rod supporter. But if he doesn't turn this thing around, I also didn't want to fire Neil Brown after 1 year going 5-7 either. Heck, I didn't want to fire Neil Brown after like 4 years. Remember? I was five or 6 years in before I wanted him fired. So I'm not the type of guy who wants to fire a coach right out of the gate. Now, there are other fans out there doing that. Maybe that's who you're referring to. And I think it's ridiculous. Dion brought in over 50 players a couple years ago. He won 4 games. Turned around the next year and won 9. Kenny Dillingham's first year at Arizona State, they won 3 games. Turned around last year, they win 11. BYU's first year in the Big 12, they win 5 games. They turn around last year and win, 9? Give him at least one more year. At least one more year before we want to fire him. Lizel Barnes in the house. What's up, Lizel? He says, been a while. We could turn this thing around tomorrow if Rich Rod wanted to. We don't have the personnel to run Rich Rod's system. Our best players are currently Nico and Vaughn. We need to throw the ball. I disagree about the – I don't think – I'm trying to be nice here. I think Khalil Wilkins – I don't think Nico can run well enough to be the number 1 quarterback in this offense. Now, Jalen Henderson didn't show me much today either. Khalil did. If Khalil can do this again in a full game, then I say you stick with him. And I think you at least run him out there against BYU to see if he can do it in a full game. Sean Murray, excellent point. UCF is playing way better than WVU. And I said coming into the season, I thought West Virginia would be better than UCF. Right now, they're not. Now, obviously, when they play head-to-head, we'll find out. It's not that far away. October the 18th, I believe, is the date of that game. It's in the bounce house. UCF's going to be favored. We'll see what happens. But yes, UCF is playing much better than West Virginia. They did lose today, but they didn't look that bad losing. I mean, it was a competitive game against Kansas State. Neil Brown, season 5, finished 9-4. His worst losses were 59-20 to Oklahoma, 38-15 to Penn State. Let's fire Brown and get a coach not even half as good. But Kelsey, who else was out there, man? Name me a candidate that was as good a candidate as Rich Rodrigiez and had his resume. Name one. Let's go down the list. Let's just go down the list of the candidates. If I can remember them all. Andy Kotelnicki, 0 head coaching experience. Yes, he's a great coordinator. Does that translate to leading a program? Rumor has it he also was not willing to leave Penn State during the playoffs. West Virginia could not wait till January to field a team. So he was out. Some people said they wanted Brian Hartline. Okay, he's a superstar recruiter, superstar assistant coach. He's just now in year 1 or 2 of being a coordinator. And I think he's a co-coordinator. I'm not even sure if he's the play caller. You correct me if in the comments if he is. Do you really want him to? Is he really a better candidate than Rich Rod? Remember, Neil Brown was coming off 3 straight 10-win seasons at Troy. Seemed like a no-brain hire. It didn't work. So you're going to go back to that well again and try that again? I don't think you can. You had a coach. Now, the one argument, you could argue that Jimbo Fisher would have been a better hire. That's a fair argument. That's an argument that has some teeth. The guy won a national title. But there were rumblings behind the scenes that a lot of the people with some power and some say did not want Jimbo Fisher for whatever reason. Probably because they can't control him, because he likes to say what's on his mind. He's going to do things his way, whatever. And I know he also wanted more money than Rich Rod is word on the street. That's a rumor. Not sure if that had anything to do with it. There's a fair argument to make there, in my opinion, that Jimbo wanted the job. I know that for a fact. I don't think he would have taken it for what they're paying Rich Rod, but he wanted it. But outside of Jimbo, who on the coaching list was more qualified than Rich Rod? I don't think there's anybody. Alex Golesh, Rich Rod is the only candidate that had coached at both the P4 and G6 level and been successful. He had coached in the portal era, in the NIL era at Jacksonville State. Again, I know it's a lower level, but he rebuilt a roster at least. He knew how to rebuild a roster. He brought in over 60 players at Jacksonville State last year, went on to win the league and win a bowl game, win the league and his team played in a bowl game. So I just don't know how any of these other coaches outside of Jimbo were more qualified on paper from a resume standpoint. Kelsey, who do you think recruited Pat White? Rich Rodrigiez did. He recruited Steve Slayton. Most schools wanted Pat White to be a DB. Rich Rodrigiez said, I'll make you a quarterback. Maryland pulled Steve Slayton's scholarship because he wasn't good enough. Dude went on to have a 5-year career in the NFL and run for over 1,000 yards one year. Rich Rod saw something in him too. Yes, and I know neither of those guys were starters at the beginning of their freshman seasons, but they were freshmen. Most coaches likely wouldn't have started those guys, in my opinion. But I do respect your opinion. I just wholeheartedly disagree with you. If they still suck in 2 years, Kelsey, then I will be saying they need to go a different direction. Jacob says fire the O-line coach. I'm not ready to – you don't fire anybody right now. Maybe at the end of the year, you reevaluate everything. Maybe that's the case. Right now, that position room has not been performing well, and he's definitely the number one on the list as far as coaches that are not – whose units aren't performing for sure. NB season 6, says WVU fan 13. Well, 6-7 with a 52-15 loss to Texas Tech and a 45-18 loss to Kansas State. Thanks, Scott Kessel. He says he likes the channel. Russell Snyder in the house says, I do feel better after saying eat shit pit. OB's in. Kelsey Whitlock says, so one example is just going to happen. Kurt Signetti. Now, I have heard it all. Signetti has something or doesn't, a football IQ. Now, Cursignetti is a great coach. And here's my personal opinion. Okay. West Virginia should have fired Neil Brown after the 2022 season. I don't remember at that time. I'm trying to look back and remember if I wanted him fired. I don't remember off the top of my head if I did or not. But regardless, hindsight's 2020 anyway, right? They probably should have moved on from Brown after the 2022 season. If they had done that, Cursignetti would have been available because he was still at JMU and likely would have taken the job. And we could have Cursignetti right now. We also could have potentially have had Hugh Freeze, who's doing a pretty decent job at Auburn right now. So there's an argument that they stayed with Neil Brown too long. And that might have put West Virginia behind the 8 ball in hiring a coach because a lot of your good candidates were off the board. That's an argument and a fair argument to make, but we can't live in the past. Can't live in the past. And of course, you can't fire a coach who just went 9-4 or 9-3 or 8. Well, yeah, 9-4, right? You can't fire a coach who just went 9-4 and won a bowl game. Finished 4th or 5th in the conference after being picked last in the preseason. You can't fire a coach who did that. So obviously Neil Brown coached his way back into the job. You could argue that it was because they had an easy schedule that year, and that's a fair argument. But guess who else had an easy schedule in year one? Cursignetti. Take a look at his schedule last year. One of the easiest schedules in the entire Power Four. They played 2 ranked teams the entire year and lost to both of them, Ohio State and Notre Dame. And I don't think either game was particularly close, if I recall. Now, he's doing good this year. That's year 2. But Cursignetti's not available, man. Indiana's paying Cursignetti like $9 million a year. West Virginia can't afford that right now. They're not making $100 million a year in the Big Ten, you know? Unfortunately, West Virginia, their coaching candidate pool is not as big as Ohio State and schools in the Big Ten and the SEC because they're not making as much money. Now, hopefully that'll change down the road, but right now, it is what it is. You've got to hire a G6 coach or a sitting coordinator or someone like a Jimbo who's retired or been fired or whatever. Those are your options basically when you're a school like a West Virginia with the resources they have at the moment. The guys are trying, Jay. I agree. I live in Beckley, and the morale of WVU fans here is going down the toilet. It's going down the toilet everywhere. You're going to see fans not showing up to games now. The attendance will continue to decline. The negative comments on social media will continue. It's not going to get any better. But it's up to the team and the coaching staff to turn around and give us something to cheer for. The society we live in today, the team's got to perform well today in order to get the fans excited. Techno Viking 23 says the sad reality is WVU doesn't have money. Our donors don't have that much. Our alumni base that can pay is older and getting phased out. And that's another great point. The demographics of the West Virginia fan base is older than most. We don't have as many big money donors as some of the other schools do. Now, the ones that we have do support it. But, I mean, heck, you've got Ken Kendrick. He's spent a lot of money into baseball, too, because he loves baseball. He's a baseball guy. Heck, he's the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, for crying out loud. So, of course, he's going to support baseball as well. But it's my understanding he does also support the football program. To what level, I have no idea. To be frank, I'm hoping he supports football more. Not because I don't like the baseball team, but winning in baseball doesn't help your university all that much, to be honest. Winning in football is massive for your university. So I'm hoping, but I do know that Ken Kendrick and Rich Rod, at least at one time, were close and were friends. So I imagine that Ken Kendrick was all behind the Rich Rod hire, and I would imagine that he is supporting that with his wallet. Again, don't know to what level, but I'm assuming that's the case. Matt Ganey says Rich Rod didn't even have a real shot at the portal this year. Most good players don't want to be a part of a major rebuild like this. He literally had to pick the bones of what was left. And that's a great point, Matt. Great point. Neil Brown couldn't lose to Max Couz and get blown out by Kansas and Utah. It's year one, Kelsey. I don't know what else to say, man. Jim White says that wasn't much of a home field advantage. You'll learn what a good home environment is when you play my Cougs. Yeah, I agree. But like I said, our fan, and I'll be honest with you too, Jim, West Virginia fans attended games more when they played teams in our region. And it's not a shot at the Big 12 at all. But West Virginia fans attended games when I went to see them play Louisville, it was a full stadium. When I went to see them play Syracuse, it was basically a full stadium. When West Virginia was playing Big East teams and a lot of teams who are now mainly in the ACC, that stadium was usually packed and loud. For whatever reason, fans are just not as excited about playing in the Big 12 as they were because we don't have any rivals left, man. Those teams, we had a history with them. We had rivalries with them. We don't have that in the Big 12 now. And even though we've been in the conference for over a decade, there's still no real history with anybody. It's just a different feel. And again, it's not a shot at the league. I love the league. I think culturally we fit great. But for whatever reason, the fan base is just not as excited about, at least that's my view on it. I could be completely wrong. I've not polled the fan base on it or anything. But just based on comments I've seen on social media and other things, I just don't think the fan base is excited about playing Utah as they would be about playing Miami or Syracuse or Virginia Tech or back in the day, Boston College when they were good. Just different, man. Different. There's no regional rivalries left, and it's sucking the life out of some fan bases. And not to mention, West Virginia is a poor state, man. You know how much it costs to buy beer in the stadium? It's like $12. For me, I go up, it's $100, $150 a night for a hotel room. It's basically a tank of gas to get up there and back. I got to buy food, 5 to 6 times while I'm there. I mean, it's an expensive trip, man. And that don't count $60 a ticket for the $60 a piece for the game tickets on average. It's not a cheap trip, man. And we live in the poorest state in the country. And you're asking people who make $60,000, $70,000 a year to spend that much money going to a football game? Think about that. That's another reason I think so it's not that our fan bases aren't passionate, Jim. It's just that, dude, going to a football game is you got to support your families and buy medication and buy food and pay bills. I think that's a big part of it too. The expenses have went up. We've seen a decline in crowds. Joining a new conference outside of where you don't play your rivals anymore, I think it's affected the crowds. And not to mention, we're now stuck in year 7 of a mediocre to bad football team. For the first time in 40, 50 years, man. Fans are getting fed up with it. Why should we spend our hard-earned money to go pay for something to be entertained by that's not entertaining? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to spend money on a bad movie or a bad dinner. Why would I want to spend it when I can watch the same game in the comfort of my living room in the AC and don't have to fight a crowd to go pee? You know what I mean? So sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant, but I just get, I get frustrated when people go after fans for not attending games when there are a litany of reasons for not attending them. Players are getting paid now, man. It's a different time. Put up or shut up. If I got to spend my entire day or weekend to support you, then I want a good product. You know? Anyway, didn't mean to go on a rant, but I do respect BYU's fan base, by the way. Jim White, we probably won't score on your defense. I'm not expecting us to score much. I'll be honest. Especially on a short week, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff. Y'all might beat us by 70. OBZN says, I really appreciate your enthusiasm, Couz. WVU fans, including myself, need to hear it often. Man, I don't know. I don't know if I'm enthusiastic, if I'm pissed off, if I'm frustrated. I don't know what I am. Sometimes I can't figure out what I am. I'm in a weird space. I'm in a weird space as a fan right now, man. I love my team. I'm passionate about my team. I don't miss games unless I have to. At least watching them. But I'm also very frustrated, and I'm getting more frustrated. But at the same time, I'm also trying to remain optimistic about the future. You know what I'm saying? It's I'm optimistic about the future, but at the same time, I'm living in today's reality, and that's just a tough spot. And I'm sure most of you watching and or listening can relate to me. It's a weird spot, right? When your team's playing really bad, but yet you think they'll be good next year or the year after. How do you reconcile all that, right? I don't know. John Kelly's in the house. Says, give Coach Ross some time. Offense is starting to play better. Neil never fielded a team this devoid of talent. He was a bad coach, but this is ours roster. He evaluated and hyped in the offseason. Again, he had to take the roster he could get by being hired in late December when the portal was already picked through and West Virginia didn't have a lot of money at the time. And it's hard to get, like someone else mentioned, it's hard to get players to come to a rebuilding program. They're not now the culture can be established. You have a core of guys who can help establish and teach that culture to the new players. He didn't have that before. He's starting from scratch. Every player on the team is basically a freshman, is in the system anyway, and in the culture. And I'm sure he didn't see, like I've said it multiple times in other shows, I'm sure he didn't realize that Trotter and Donaldson and Clement and Lathan and Remack and Altuner and Williams and Weedman and whoever else were all going to transfer out. I'm sure he didn't see that many guys transferring out that he was going to rely on as a core group of guys. Imagine how much better this offensive line could be with Remack and Altuner and Williams, especially Remack and Williams, two guys who were experienced. Imagine how your right guard, one of your guard spots would have already been solidified with Remack. One of your tackle spots would have already been solidified with Williams. You know, Nick Cray's not playing terrible. Landon Livingston hasn't been playing terrible. Those two guys likely would have been two of your guys. Then you only have one more spot, and Altuner probably takes that one. So you don't need all these portal guys. Your portal guys are just for building depth at that point. Those guys transferring out was huge. Now, you can blame that on him. Some people say, hey, he should have kept Matt Moore on. I don't even know. Did Matt Moore want to stay? I don't know. We weren't involved in that conversation. But you've got to have people on your staff that share your philosophy. Maybe he and Matt Moore don't share the same philosophy. I don't know. Let's see. Michael Simmons. Is the offense bad because we don't have the right players for the system this year? I think that's part of it. I definitely think that's part of it. I mean, to be frank, I think there are in some positions there's just not the talent there that they need, and then in others there's probably not as much depth. So when a guy gets hurt, you know, there's a huge drop off from your first to your second string potentially, especially when you get multiple guys hurt. I think that's another issue. The injuries, guys. Your top three running backs are all injured. Top three, not your top one, not your top, and not to even mention Jaheim White. Jaheim White alone could probably account for a win or two for this football team. He's that good. You think West Virginia beats Pitt without Ty Edwards? I don't. He hasn't played since that game. I think the Kansas game looks totally different if Ty Edwards plays in it. Doesn't mean West Virginia wins it, but I don't think it's 41-10. It might have been 31-21, or maybe West Virginia does win it. I don't know. My point being, injuries have to come into play here. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but it does make it, at least it's just one of the many, Kelsey wants to call them excuses. It's different. I know a lot of teams face injuries, but it's not guys as important to their team in a lot of cases. And heck, last year Utah dealt with it. Look what happened to them when their quarterback went out. They were horrible without him. Couldn't even move the ball down the field. When you lose somebody that's that important to your team, it makes a difference. WVU Fan 13 says Neil Brown is currently a special assistant to the head coach of Texas. He gets his coffee and schedules appointments. No one in America would hire him as a coach. Keep living in your dream. Wilkins is the answer, says the real Montel 87. Shane V says, I never wanted Brown hired. They interviewed Luke Fickell and still hired Brown. Fickell took Cincy to the playoffs. Luke Fickell is my understanding, Shane, based on here's some podcasts I've listened to. Luke Fickell didn't want the job. I think he was actually their first choice, but he didn't want the job. He preferred to be in Cincy. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact he's a devout Catholic, and there are not a ton of Catholic schools in Morgantown. And in Cincinnati, there were more options as far as Catholic schools, Wisconsin rather. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Or maybe he just felt, and let's be honest, Luke Fickell might get fired at Wisconsin after this year. So would he really have been a better choice? I don't know. Ryan S. says, people need to give him at least a few years. This sucks. I almost feel Rod is proving a point with his play calling to donors. I don't know. He proved me wrong in 2002. This year is a rebuilding year. Sean Kennedy's in the house. Michael Olenek, Earth Ether, Go Ears 206. Chris Mitchell. Shane V says Bill Belichick. Nick Saban. I see Nick Saban, something about Nick Saban in there. Raven says, I'll take Rich Rod over Neil Brown any day. Earth Ether says, I'll stand with RR. Junior Buddy says, Rich Rod is the best coach. I think Rich Rod is the consensus winner here, folks, as far as what the chat wants over Neil Brown. Scott Kessel says, if Jimbo really wanted the job and we didn't do anything to get him, my goodness. All right, I'm way behind in the chat, ain't I? I didn't realize how far behind I was. Holy cow. I'm 20 minutes behind. Y'all are keeping me busy here tonight. I love it. Timothy Watts says, calm down. It will get better. Ian McIntyre says, I don't know how I can judge the QB play. We only passed the ball 13 total times today. Either they aren't getting a fair shot or there's a serious lack of talent in that room. Again, we'll see. I thought Khalil Wilkins showed me a little bit today when he did throw it. That's why I think if you're Rich, the way things are going right now, you stick with him. Seymour Wang says WVU is currently I don't even like saying your name. Says WVU is currently the worst Power 4 program in America. Maybe. It's possible. Tugboat, but we beat Pitt. Does that make Pitt the worst Power 4 program in America? All right. Sorry. Tugboat's Video Emporium says, man, that first half was the worst half of football I think I've ever seen. It was definitely tough. Shane V says, wow, I did not know that. Thank you. I'm so far behind now, I don't know what I'm talking about. All right. One more time, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor, fine folks over at DraftKings. Be right back. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer. Plus over $200 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. All right, thank you for that. WVU Fan 13 says, Kelsey, you can say Neil Brown was better than Rich Rod, but you have no factual basis other than I think. Based on that logic, I think President Benson is a better coach than Neil Brown. Oh, man, that was funny. All right, let me see what other chats. My gosh, man. You guys were awesome in the chat room. I love the lively chat rooms here. It really helps. No more fodder, says Shane V. All right, Kelsey Whitlack, look, you know, I've always respected your opinion. You and I have disagreed a lot over the years, but I do always appreciate your support of my show. I appreciate you being here. And look, you're passionate about your opinion. Most of us in the chat vehemently disagree with you, but that's okay. As long as it never gets personal. I love it. WV Fan 13 says, Couz, I might be crazy, but I think we will play much better against BYU. This was a different game second half. I don't know if you're crazy, WV Fan 13, but I don't feel the same, man. I think BYU might be better defensively than Utah is. So, and it's a road game. So, in one of the arguably the most hostile environment in the league. So I'm not putting a lot of stock in it, but I hope you're right. Raven says we all feel the same way. Yeah, it's a weird place to be, isn't it? It's odd because I want so hard to be positive, and I'm trying to stay positive. But when you watch what we watched today, it's extremely hard to do. Really, really hard to do. Aiden's Collectibles in the house. Thank you. I see a lot of new names in here. I love it. I appreciate everybody. By the way, if you're watching this on the WV Sports Chat Facebook page, or you're watching this on X/Twitter, do me a favor. Once the show's over, if you haven't yet, please come check out my YouTube channel, Couz's Corner, where I cover West Virginia Mountaineers sports. And if you're watching me there, if you haven't yet, go check out the WV Sports Chat Facebook page and website, where you find West Virginia written content by myself, Jonathan Martin, Shauna Rose, James Gravely, and some others. We're covering West Virginia Mountaineers written content over there at WVSportsChat.com. Please support us over there as well. I got a super chat that dropped in from Earth Ether. Thank you, Earth Ether. Says, I support Rich Rod. He will turn this around. If he can't, no one can. Support the program. Thank you, Earth Ether. I appreciate it, man. I get frustrated. Sometimes I say negative things about the program, but I will always support them as far as my money, my time, whatever I can at that moment in my life, right? I don't go to every game like some people do, but I go to as many as I can, and I do my very best to watch every game and support them in other ways, buying merch, whatever. So, nonetheless, if we all need to step up and do what we can do to support this program. I don't care whether it's Rich Rod, Neil Brown. I don't care who the coach is. I don't care if it's Nick Saban. If they don't have the financial support, West Virginia's never going to win again. It's that simple. West Virginia doesn't have, I'm going to say it again, they don't have the number of big donors as other schools. Those donors may not have as big of pockets as the donors at other schools. So it's upon us, the fan base, to do our part where we can. Again, I'm not asking you to not pay your bills or buy your medication, but if you have the financial means to support West Virginia University football, then you need to do it. Even if it's just donating $10 a month or whatever. There are options to do that, by the way. You can donate $10 a month to the program. I'm hoping to do a show explaining all that at some point in the very near future. You can buy ONIT athlete trading cards. By the way, there's a link to that in my description box. I'll make a small commission from it. You can buy merch from the NIL store. You can buy the player jerseys from Fanatics. There's also a link to that, by the way. You can support them through, other means of NIL deals. There's all kinds of things we can do as fans to support the program. Buy a hat, buy a shirt. Go to games when we can. When you're at a game, go buy a hot dog and a beer, or a hot dog and a soda, or a hot dog and a water, whatever. It all helps. So anyway, I want to thanks everybody for jumping on here. I've been on here an hour and 15. It's one of the longest live shows I've done in a while. I probably ranted more today than I intended to, but that's okay. Sometimes it's therapeutic for me to get on here and do that. I appreciate you for being willing to listen to my rant. Still have somewhat of a lost voice from being at my local high school game last night and doing some yelling. By the way, Princeton Tigers are now 4-0 and ranked number 1 in the state in AAA. Just want to throw that out there. Jacob Yoho says, maybe we can get that senior guy, LOL. I'm trying to remember who that is, Jacob. I don't even know who you're talking about, to be honest. Is that a joke that I think there's a joke going over my head? I don't know. Anyway, but Jacob, I do appreciate the support, my guy. I really do. Any other wins, Matt? Matt says he thinks outside of us, OK State, and maybe Colorado, the Big 12 is fairly stout. Where do I see wins? Maybe Colorado, maybe UCF. That's basically it. And those two right now, if they play today, they beat us. I'm just holding out hope that West Virginia's better by the time we play those two teams. Maybe Houston, but Houston's defense is really good, so I'm not sure West Virginia's going to be able to score on them, or at least enough to win. But that being said, I got another super chat, I believe. Oh, man, thank you so much. WVU Fan 13, thank you for the awesome generosity there. He says, I think Neil Brown can have fun enjoying the tailgating and weather in Columbus. We are better off for it. Wilkins was the spark that we needed since the second game. Hubbard and Wilkins will make us all feel better next week. Let's go. And I love it's fans like WVU Fan 13 who can stay optimistic through these tough times that helps keep me a little bit optimistic. And I appreciate that because I am not an optimistic person by nature. So I appreciate that, WVU Fan 13. I really need it. Thank you so much for the donation, for the support, and for helping me keep the lights on here at Couz's Corner and WV Sports Chat. Chris Garnes in the house. Says, late here, Couz, but I just got to say I heard some guys at the game today yelling fire Rich Rod, and I just don't agree. I mean, for someone who wish this tells me how much some of our fans really know all. Yeah, I didn't agree with it either. It was actually you could actually hear it on the television because whoever was saying it was close to a camera, apparently, and a microphone. But it was only a few people. Shane V says, thank you for a great chat. It's a great day to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be. Yep. And I'm going to close out by saying thank you. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless you. And even though we lost today, I will always bleed gold and blue, and I will always remind you to cue country roads.